So, you want to hear a story? You know I got one for you. In 1904, a sheriff in rural West Virginia responded to the strangest noise report of his career. Neighbors swore they heard screaming coming from underneath the floorboards of a house that was supposed to be completely empty. When the sheriff forced the door open, he found a home where every door was nailed shut from the inside. Strange symbols burned into the walls, and the basement stairs looked like something heavy had been dragged down them. But the most disturbing part wasn't any of that. It was the fact that the screaming was still happening, and it wasn't human. Welcome to Now It's Dark. The Ashridge House sits deep in the West Virginia backwoods, a two-story farmhouse built in the early 1880s by a private, extremely reclusive family, Nathaniel and Miriam Ashridge and their 3 children. Locals rarely saw them. When they did, the family looked exhausted and strangely paranoid, like people who hadn't slept in days. The Ashridges were rumored to be spiritualists, not in the fortune teller palm reading way, but in the darker, experimental way. They believed they could open a corridor between the living world and the afterlife using precise sound vibrations. Neighbors sometimes heard singing or humming coming from the house late at night. The same 4 notes over and over, climbing in pitch until the whole valley seemed to vibrate. Then one night, it stopped, and the family was never seen again. On January 8th, 1904, the closest neighbors, the Claremonts, were sitting down to dinner when they heard it. A scream, muffled but definitely human, and coming from the Ashridge house. Then another. Then a whole series of them. Pounding, begging, something hitting the walls from the inside. The Claremonts ran half a mile to Sheriff Roland Pike's house, insisting he come immediately. They were so hysterical that Pike brought a deputy and lanterns and followed them back. The sheriff knocked, but got no answer. He tried the door, but it was locked. He shoulders into it, and the whole thing cracks wide open, wood splintering. The house inside is freezing cold. There's dust everywhere, but the floorboards are vibrating like something is pounding on them from below. The sheriff calls out, "Sheriff, anyone home? Hello? Who's here?" No response, but the pounding gets faster. He opens the parlor door, or tries to, but it won't budge. He looks closer and sees every door in the house has been nailed shut. Not boarded, nailed through the door into the door frame. Long, old-fashioned iron nails bent over like someone hammered them in a panic. As they explore, the deputy finds something even stranger. Burn marks. Blackened circles arranged in patterns across the plaster wall. Some are the size of coins, others as large as dinner plates. Every one is charred into the wall, but nothing around them is burned. The patterns almost look like sound vibrations, resonance patterns, something the Ashbridges could have been experimenting with. Suddenly, the screaming comes again. This time not from beneath the floor, but from the walls. It sounds like a woman sobbing. The deputy gets close, puts his ear against the wall. Something drags itself downward on the other side of the wall. Both men jump back. The deputy drops his lantern. The flame sputters, but stays lit. And now, down the hallway, one of the nailed doors begins bulging, like something is pushing on it from the other side. The sheriff finally says the words that nobody wants to hear. "We need to check the basement." The basement door is nailed too, but only with 2 nails, as if whoever hammered it was interrupted. Or just ran out of nails. They pry it open, A wave of cold air rolls out, and then the smell hits them, like scorched meat, rot, and candle wax. They descend the stairs with the lantern. Halfway down, they see drag marks on the steps, deep gouges, not scratches, grooves, like something heavy was dragged down on its back. The screaming, meanwhile, gets louder, echoing, layered, almost like harmonics. Multiple voices at once. At the bottom is a large chamber the sheriff didn't expect. It's not a normal cellar. It's been excavated wider and deeper. It looks like a ritual room. There are hand-drawn symbols on the walls. Candle stubs are everywhere. One room stood apart from the rest of the cellar. Every wall had once been lined with tall standing mirrors, now smashed as if someone had made sure nothing down here could ever look back again. And in the back of the basement, a doorway. It's narrow at the entrance and widens inside. The walls are smooth, blackened, heat blistered, as if something burned its way out from the stone. The deputy whispers, "What is that?" And the sheriff says, "I think that's where the screaming is coming from." The men approach the opening. The screaming suddenly stops. Silence. Then a long exhale of air, like the corridor itself is breathing out. The lantern dims, like the light is being pulled toward the hole. And then they see it. Inside the hole, just at the edge of the lantern light, a hand. Thin, gray, ash-covered, fingers too long, pressed against the stone like someone is leaning out. The hand retracts into the darkness, then footsteps, fast, coming up the stone interior of the corridor. The sheriff shouts, "Get back!" just as something slams the inside of the wall hard enough that dust and bits of stone rain down. They run, sprinting up the basement stairs so fast they nearly fall. Behind them, something hits the stairs in a heavy, crawling gait. Not running, crawling, like it's using its knees and elbows. They get to the parlor. The sheriff slams the basement door shut. Something impacts it a second later. Then, quiet. Complete and absolute. Sheriff Pike orders the house boarded up that night. He doesn't write a report. No one ever goes inside again. Locals claim they still hear humming at night, the same 4 climbing notes the Ashridges used in their spirit corridor experiments. And sometimes, if the valley is especially quiet, you can hear pounding from beneath the floorboards, like something still hasn't found its way out. For decades, people assumed the Ashridge family died during their ritual experiment. But here's the part most people don't know. In 1921, a geological survey drilled near the property to test for coal deposits. They hit a hollow chamber 40 feet below the house. A chamber filled with hundreds of bones, some animal, but many unmistakably human. All of them cracked and scorched black, and all of them piled around the opening of a tunnel, like something crawled up from it. Over and over and over again. So, what do you think happened here? Did the Ashridge family find a way to travel between the land of the living and the land of the dead? Or is this just another creepy abandoned house that got labeled as haunted by the locals? Let me know what you think in the comments. Like and share this video, it really helps. And subscribe if you want more content like this. Thank you for watching. Now it's dark.